Shalom Israel, with the Israelite School Universal Practical Knowledge. Started at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander General Yohana. We are not affiliated with any of the Israelite group nor any other Christian organization. All right. So tonight's class is the history class. All right. Tonight's class is the history class. Now remember, all these classes are very important to attend. All right. When you're coming into the class, do not forget to put your name, city, and state for attendance. All right. Don't forget to put your name, city, and state. You do not want to not put your name, city, and state when it comes to attendance. All right. You do not want to not put your name, city, and state when it comes to attendance. All right. You do not want to not put your name, city, and state for attendance. Okay. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Do not forget to do any of these things. All right. We want to promote the school as much as possible. We want to build up Virginia. We want as many people to know about Virginia as possible. All right. So do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. All right, and share these classes. All right. So tonight's class is the history class. Remember, history is very important. No matter how you think about it, no matter what's going on, history is something very, very important. All right. Like it. Remember, history is something very, very important. All right. So like it. All right. Now, the history class is very important to attend. History is important no matter how you look at it. All right. History is important no matter how you look at it. Now, remember that very carefully. History is very important no matter how you look at it. Okay. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we need to know our history. We need to know who we are about, what's going on. Because of America, because of our captivity, we don't really know our history. We don't really know who we are. We don't even know who we're supposed to be. We don't know how to structure ourselves. We don't know how to live. All we know is what America has taught us. All we know is whatever America's school system has taught us, and their universities have taught us, and their colleges has taught us, and their colleges and universities has taught us, and their school board and their school system has taught us. Like that's all we know as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. But allow us to clarify everything. Blacks, the Most High wants Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to know who you are. Blacks, the Most High in the Bible, the God of this Bible wants you to know who you are and who you are supposed to be and how you are supposed to live and how you are supposed to structure your life. The Most High wants us to understand these simple things. Because of America, because of our captivity, because of the oppression coming from our oppressor, because of the oppression coming from your Donald Trumps and the oppression coming from your Joe Bidens and the oppression coming from your Bill Clintons and the oppression coming from your Ronald Reagans and your oppression coming from your Hillary Clintons and your Sarah Palins, because of the oppression coming from our oppressors, we don't know who we are. We don't know how we're supposed to live. We don't know what we're supposed to do. We don't know what we're not supposed to do. We don't know how we're supposed to live. We don't know how we're supposed to walk. We don't know how we're supposed to talk. We don't know how we're supposed to speak. We don't know how we don't know how we're supposed to eat. We don't know how we're supposed to drink. We don't know how we're supposed to sleep. We don't know how we're supposed to dress. Like we don't know these things because of our oppressor. Oppressor to these classes Monday through Friday. Like this is why we come to these classes Monday through Saturday. That's why some brothers and sisters come to this class Monday through Sunday. This is why we come to these classes every single day, because we want to make sure we live according to the Most High, and we're living according to how we're supposed to be living. And that's what we have to understand. Now, historically, God has a government. The Most High, within His laws, within His statutes, within His commandments, within the Bible, right? The Lord always set up a way for His people to live. Now, if you did not know this, this is very common knowledge. All right. Well, it should be common knowledge. But let's say you may not know. Let's say for an example, you don't know. Now remember, if you're in class, make sure you put your name, city, and state, no matter who you are. Make sure you put your name, city, and state. Do not forget to put your name, city, and state. All right, you want to put your name, city, and state. All right. 1 second. All right. Make sure you put your name, city, and state. Do not forget that. All right. Name, city, and state. You want to check in the class. So now, all right. Within the Bible, within these scriptures, man. So within the Bible, within these scriptures, the Lord established and structured the way for us to live. And within this Bible, within the Bible, right, the Lord established a government. Like these are the records of a certain nation of people. The Lord has a people that He dealt with. The Lord has a people He has always dealt with, who He spoke to, who He deals with, who He chose, who He made above, who He made special. You understand? The Lord has a people who He deals with. And so happily, those people are so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Those are the people who the Lord deals with. These are the people who the Lord deals with. If you are so-called black, Hispanic, and Native American, the Lord deals with you. The Lord chose you. And what I mean by deal with you, as in the Lord chose us to be His people. The Lord made us a special people on the earth. The Lord made us above all these other nations on the earth. Like that's what the Lord said in our records. That's what the Lord said within His records. This is what the Lord said in the Bible, who blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are. And the Lord always dealt with the nation of Israel. The Lord did not deal with everybody. The Lord isn't for everybody. And we have to understand that very fact. And we have to understand that knowledge that's being brought out. Because of the Christian church, we're not going to learn this. We're not going to learn this common knowledge. Because of the Catholic church, because of the Catholic Mass, we're not going to realize, we're not going to know this common knowledge. Because of your Muslim mosque, we're not going to know this common knowledge, even though this knowledge is in the Bible, if you take the time to read it. All right. But because of our pastors, and because of our bishops, and because of our fake priests, and because of our deacons, and because of our evangelists, and because of our pastors, and because of how money hungry they are, and how much they truly don't care about serving the Lord, and how much they really don't care about reading the Bible, and how much they really don't care when it comes to loving the Most High, they cheat you out of this knowledge of you. They cheat us out of this knowledge from us knowing that we are God's chosen people, and the Lord dealt with us. And now, with that being said, the Lord gave us laws, statutes, and commandments to live by. And the Lord set up certain instructions for us to do. The Lord gave us instructions for us to do. The Lord set up a structure. The Lord established a government for us to live by. And we're going to get that in the Bible. Right? Because the Lord has a government. The Most High has always had a government. The problem is, because of the Christian church, nobody understands about order. Nobody understands about government. No one understands about rules. No one understands that there has to be rules and regulations. No one understands that there has to be structure and order. No one understands there has to be instructions. No one understands this very key point. Like, we want to always talk about that we want to fix the Black, Hispanic, and Native American community. Well, one of the ways to fix the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American community is to have order, to have structure, to have a solid foundation. And the Lord gave us His laws for that foundation. The Most High gave us His laws to make sure we establish that very strong foundation for us to live by and to structure our entire life by. So we're going to go into the law, and we're going to go into the Bible, and we're going to get into our records, and we're going to get into these laws, statutes, and commandments, and we're going to get into these scriptures, and we're going to get into these verses, and we're going to learn, and we're going to understand the structure that the Lord laid down. We're going to read the government that the Lord established. We're going to read these rules and regulations and these orders and these commands and these statutes that the Lord laid down for so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to learn and to live by and to structure ourselves by. Like, this is something very, very important for us to learn. We do not want to take this for granted. We do not want to take this lightly. All right. We're going to want to know these things. So now let's get it. So we're going to get in Deuteronomy. All right. The first scripture we're going to get. All right. The first scripture we're going to get. Let's see. Lock it. Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 27. Let me see. Deuteronomy chapter 27, verse 1. So let's get Deuteronomy chapter 27, verse 1. All right. And we're going to get this real quick. Deuteronomy chapter 27. We're going to start here. Deuteronomy chapter 27, verse 1. And Moses with the elders of Israel. Now it said, and Moses with the elders of Israel. Now the reason why we're going here, all right, because this right here, this is a little bit of milk, all right? This is for anyone that's new to class, anyone coming into class. We want to get some milk to understand the Bible entirely. It says Deuteronomy chapter 27, verse 1. And Moses with the elders of Israel commanded the people, saying, like the Lord has always spoke to the children of Israel. Like the Lord is dealing with the children of Israel. Like the Lord does not deal with everybody. The Lord doesn't deal with these other nations the way the Lord wants to deal with us. The Lord chose a certain nation of people to be his people. The Lord chose so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. The Lord chose the Mexicans. The Lord chose the Haitians. The Lord chose the Puerto Ricans. The Lord chose the Cubans. The Lord chose the El Salvadorans. The Lord chose the Lord chose the Costa Ricans. The Lord chose the Cubans. The Lord chose the Lord chose Peruvians. The Lord chose the Brazilians. The Lord chose the people from Chile. Like the Lord chose the Dominicans. Like the Lord chose the Latino people, man. Like that's who the Lord chose. The Lord didn't choose everybody. The Lord chose the Navajo. The Lord chose the Iroquois. The Lord chose the Comanche. The Lord chose the Apache. The Lord chose the Blackfoot. The Lord chose the Cherokee. The Lord chose the Pequot. The Pequot. The Lord chose the Wampanoag. The Lord chose the Creek. The Lord chose the Muskogee. The Lord chose the Seminoles. Like the Lord chose the Blackfoot. The Lord chose the Skywalkers. Like the Lord chose so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. The Lord did not choose everybody. We have to understand that. The Lord dealt with so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. The Lord chose the Haitians. The Lord chose the Trinidadians. The Lord chose the people from the Virgin Islands. The Lord chose the Jamaicans. Like the Lord chose the so-called Negroes in America. The Lord chose the Latinos. The Lord chose so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. The Lord did not choose everybody. And the Lord did not deal with everybody. All right. Deuteronomy chapter 27, verse 1. And Moses with the elders of Israel commanded the people, saying, keep all the commandments which I command you this day. Like this was something very important that we had to understand. Like this is how the Lord established us as a nation of people. This is how the Lord made us his people. He gave us his laws, statutes, and commandments. The reason why this is so important to understand, because the law was not given to everybody, nor is the law for everybody. The law is for a specified people. The Lord was given to a specific people, and that was the children of Israel, which would be the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans today. We have to understand that, and we have to understand this. All right? We have to understand this. Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15. All right? Because remember, this is dealing with the law. The reason why we're suffering the way we're suffering, and the reason why we're not living the way we're supposed to be living, because we're not following under the laws and the rules and the regulations that the Most High put into place for us to follow. Like the Lord established a government. The Lord put a government into place. The Lord put rules and regulations into place. The Lord put laws and statutes into place for us to structure ourselves after. He put rules and regulations into place and instructions into place so we can live by them. Like the reason why the Bible is still here and the reason why the Bible still exists, because there is a people that are supposed to be following it. There's a people that's supposed to be listening to it. There's a people that's supposed to be adhering to it. And it says in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, Meaning, if you do not listen to the voice of the Lord, if you do not want to listen to the Most High, if you do not want to listen to the God of the Bible, if you do not want to listen to the God of Israel, all right, hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments. Meaning, if you're not going to observe to do, meaning to do is an action, meaning it's not a spiritual thing necessarily, but there's something physically being done. It says to observe to do all his commandments, meaning you are to do all of his commandments. You are to follow the rules and regulations. Those are the commandments. Those instructions in the Bible, God's laws, statutes, and commandments that you can find through Genesis all the way to Deuteronomy, which is the book that we're reading in now. It says to observe to do all his commandments, meaning we are to keep all of his commandments. We are to do all of his commandments, right? And his statutes, which I command thee this day. There is a reason why we are to do this. It says, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of thy God, to observe to do all his commandments. Meaning there's a condition. Meaning if we do not keep his commandments, meaning if we decide to break his laws, if we decide not to be under the authority and be under the government that the Lord established and be under the rules and regulations that the Lord put down, all right, it says that all these curses, it says all these curses, it says all these curses. Does anybody know what a curse is? A curse is an opposite of a blessing. A curse is not a good thing. A curse is not something that you want. A curse is not something you would want to have. It says all these curses, meaning a curse is bad. A curse is evil. It says all these curses. It didn't say blessings. It says that all these curses. It didn't say you're blessed and highly favored when you don't keep the law. It says all these curses. It didn't say God knows your heart, right? It didn't say any of that. It said that all these curses. It didn't say God's going to forgive me no matter what. It says all these curses. It didn't say God is going to love me no matter what I do because I am his child. All these curses. The Lord said all these curses, if you don't keep my commandments, the Lord said out of his mouth, the Most High said in his records, if you are not going to keep his laws, statutes, and commandments, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Like this is the baseline why we are to keep his laws, statutes, and commandments. Because we are going to be a cursed people if we do not keep them. The Lord is going to be against us if we do not keep his laws, statutes, and commandments. The Lord talks about remember the traditions that have been passed down through these epistles. Like that's what the Lord says in the Bible. That's what the Lord says in the Bible. That's what the Lord says in our records. If these are a part of our traditions that the Lord passed down to the Israelites, to so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, to the Puerto Ricans, to the Dominicans, to the El Salvadorians, to the Costa Ricans, to the Cubans, to the Peruvians, to the Colombians, to the Brazilians. Like these are the things that to the Nicaraguans. You understand? The people of Nicaragua. Like this is who the Lord chose. This is who the Lord gave his laws, statutes, and commandments to. And if we are the people that are not going to obey his laws, and we're not going to do his laws, statutes, and commandments, and not follow his orders, and not follow his instructions, we are going to become a cursed people. The Lord does not want you to become a cursed people. But if you choose and decide to not keep his laws, all these curses are going to come upon us. Everyone is wondering how we are going to fix the Black, Hispanic, and Native American community. Everyone is wondering why. Everyone is wondering why. All right, 1 second. Everyone is going to wonder why. All right. All these things are happening because we do not want to be under the government that the Lord put into place and with who the Lord put in charge. All right. All right, just bear with me real quick. Like this is why it's so like this is why the law is so important. And this is why it's so very, very important for us to keep the laws of God and understand the government that the Lord put in charge. Like this is how we're going to fix the black community. Like this is how we're going to fix so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans. Because this is a part of our history. This is something that we need to know. This is something we need to live by. This is something we need to structure ourselves after. If we're not going to be under the authority and the government that the Lord put in charge, nothing is going to work for us. Nothing is going to prosper for us. Nothing is going to be successful when we do these things. This is the reason why the black community is living. This is the reason why the black community looks the way it is. This is why the Latino community looks the way it is. This is why the Native American community on our reservations look the way they are. Because we do not want to structure ourselves according to the Lord. And we want to structure ourselves according to our own way. The Lord does not want us to do things our own way. The Lord does not want us to do things our way. The Lord wants us to do things his way. And that's why he gave us these laws, statutes, and commandments. So now let's get Deuteronomy. Let's get the next scripture real quick. Deuteronomy chapter 17. We're going to get Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 4. Go ahead. Salaki, so what's going on? Okay, hold on. All right. Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 14. All right, Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 14. Everyone get there if you can. All right, also make sure do not forget to not take notes. All right, you do not want to not take notes. You want to make sure, you want to make sure, all right. Don't touch your notes. So make sure it's something very, very important to understand. You want to take notes, all right? You want to take notes. You want to take very, very good detailed notes as well, all right? So let's get it. Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 14. And it says, when thou art come unto the land, it says, when thou art come unto the land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee. All right, now this is talking about when we come into the land of Israel. All right, now remember, historically, right? We were going into the land of Canaan because the land of Canaan was the land that the Most High Power, the God of the Bible, established for so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to live in. Like that was the land that the Lord promised so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You understand? Like the land of Israel. This was our land. That is where we were going to build up our cities, build up our towns, build up our neighborhoods, build up our families, have children, have sons, have daughters, and live in a peaceful place without our enemies around about us. That was the purpose of the Lord sending us into the land of Canaan and giving Moses the order and eventually passing down that order to Joshua to wipe out those nations living in the land of Canaan. And so the Lord is saying right here in Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 14, when thou art come unto the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shall possess it, meaning when we come into this land and we possess this land, meaning we own this land, meaning this is our land. Like at one point in time, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we had our own land. We wasn't always slaves like we're slaves in America. We wasn't always in captivity the way we are in America. We wasn't trying to fight for 60 acres and a mule, all right, just like we're doing in America. We had our 60 acres. We had our acres and our mule and more. We had our own oxen. We had our own land. We had our own farm. We had our own businesses. We had our own companies. We had our own factories. We had our own system. We had our own government. We had our own branches. We had our own military. Like we had things for ourselves. Because at one point in time, we were an independent nation. We were a nation that structured ourselves after the laws of God. Because that was our culture. That was our heritage. That was our way of life. That was our government. That was our establishment. That was our foundation, the laws of God. And that's why it says in Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 14, and shall dwell therein and shall say. So meaning when we're living in this land and we're dwelling in this land, right? I will set a king over me, right? I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me. Meaning there's going to come a time when we're going to want a king. We're going to want a king just like the rest of these nations want kings. Like, it was a very common practice that a nation always had a ruling figure or a person in authority to rule that nation. This was a concept among all nations. In every last empire, every last nation, every last nationality on this earth has always had a authority figure or some ruler or some king or some authority figure ruling over the land and ruling over their people. But naturally, just like everyone else, blacks and Latinos and Native Americans, we're going to want a king too. We're going to want an authority figure too. You understand? And so it says right here, all right, and it says right here in Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 14, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me. So there's going to be a king raised up, right? Works like not raised up, not yet. But we're going to want a king just like everyone else wants a king. We're going to want an authority figure like everyone else wants an authority figure. You understand? No difference. All right. Verse 15. We're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 15. It says, Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee. It says, Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, meaning in any wise, don't no sweat. They're going to set a king over thee. All right. Right. Thou, meaning you shout, meaning this will happen in any wise, set him king over thee, meaning there's going to be a king set over you. There is going to be an authority figure set over you. You understand? But the Lord gave stipulations. The Lord gave detailed instructions how this ruler and how this king and how this authority figure is going to be set up and established in the nation of Israel. All right. Whom the Lord thy God shall choose. Meaning you will have a king over you. And it says, set him king, meaning this authority figure is not a woman but a man. It says, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. Like it was always something the Lord has always done. The Lord always chooses who's going to be in charge and who's going to run what, who's going to be in charge of what, who's going to do what. Like it was never our choice. It was never our decision. All right. It was never our choice, our decision to make who's going to be in charge of us. Like that's a concept. That was a concept later. That was a concept later done in America, right? America because of our oppressor and because of America and because of their traditions and because of their culture and because of their heritage and because of their culture and because of their traditions, right? They chose their leaders. They put their leaders into place. We now call it voting. They have always put leaders into place. They did a vote, and whoever they wanted in charge, they voted for who was in charge. But that was their culture, and that was their tradition, and that was how they established their governments, and how they established their cities, and their towns, and their neighborhoods. But as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we never chose our leaders. We never came to a vote who was going to be in charge. It was always the Lord's decision. It was always the Lord's choice who was going to be in charge of what, who was going to do what, who was going to have power over what, who's going to control this, who's going to do that. I want this person here. I want this person there. Like this was always a decision made by the Lord. We never had a part in making the decision who is going to be in charge of Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. We never had the decision or a vote to put anyone in charge over the nation of Israel, which is so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. But because as Cubans we vote, and because of Puerto Ricans we vote, and because of Peruvians we vote, and because of Mexicans we vote, and because we're Haitians we vote, and because as Negroes we vote, and because of Native Americans we vote. This is why the Black community is suffering. This is why nothing is properly getting done, because we are choosing who we want to be in charge. We are making a vote, and as a mass majority, we are voting, and we are making the decision ourselves who we want to rule over us, and who we want to be in charge of us, and who we want to have the authority over us. This decision was never given to the people. This decision was always of the Lord. It had nothing to do with the people. It had nothing to do with me. It had nothing to do with you. It had nothing to do with your mama. It had nothing to do with your daddy. It had nothing to do with Big Mama. It had nothing to do with your pastors. It always dealt with the Lord of who he wanted in charge. And the Lord will spiritually show you who's supposed to be in charge. And it says right here, one among thy brethren. It says, one from among thy brethren. Who is thy brethren? Thy brethren is talking about your people, your nation of people, your nationality of people, your race of people. Like this is who the Lord is talking about. This is one of the requirements of who is going to be in charge of so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. The first one was that it had to be someone who the Lord put in charge. All right. It was going to be who the Lord put in charge, never who you voted for. It was never who you wanted to be in charge. It was never who you decided to be in charge. It was never who we wanted to be in charge and who we wanted to rule over us and who we wanted to have the authority over us and who we wanted to be our leader and who we wanted to be our king. It was never our decision, but it was never our choice, but it was the Lord's choice. That's why the Lord said in Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 15. And it says, I will set and shall dwell, Salaki, and one from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Like this is who's going to be king over you. This is who is going to be. It's going to be someone from your own people. Meaning it can't be Joe Biden, which also means it can't be Donald Trump. If you are so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American, if you want to put anyone in charge, even if you remotely had the choice or the option who you wanted in charge, it could not be someone that is not from your brethren, right? Like that's what the Lord said right here. That's why the Lord continues to say in Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 15, thou mayest not set a stranger over thee. A stranger is someone that is not your people. A stranger is someone that does not come from your nationality. A stranger is someone that is not your race. A stranger is someone that is not so-called Black. A stranger is someone that is not so-called Hispanic. A stranger is someone that is not so-called. A stranger is someone that is not so-called Native American. A stranger is not a Puerto Rican. A stranger is not a Mexican. A stranger is not a Haitian. A stranger is not a Negro. A stranger is not a Jamaican. A stranger is not a Brazilian or a Peruvian. A stranger is not a Trinidadian. But you know who a stranger is? A stranger is Joe Biden. A stranger is your Donald Trump. A stranger is your Ronald Reagan. Your stranger is your Bill Clinton and your Hillary Clinton and your Al Gore. That's who a stranger is. You understand? That's why the Lord said right here in verse 15, thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. Meaning these people who we vote for and who we put into office to this day are not our brothers. Joe Biden is not your brother. Joe Biden is not your brother. Joe Biden is not your brother. Every Black, Hispanic, and Native American needs to hear this. Joe Biden is not your brother. Donald Trump is not your brother. Bill Clinton is not your brother because he plays the saxophone. Joe Biden is not your brother because he said you're not, if you don't vote for me, you're not Black. You understand? That is not who your brother is. Hillary Clinton is not your brother. Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton said to Blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans that we are super predators. That cannot be a brother of yours. That is not who your brother is. That's why the Lord said, thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. You cannot choose who your leader is. We are not to choose who our king is. We are not to choose who is going to be over us. We do not choose who is going to have the authority over us. We are not to choose who is going to rule over us. This was never our decision. This was never our choice. That's why the Lord said, whom the Lord thy God shall choose, because we never had the option or the choice who we wanted to lead over us. That decision was always entirely to the Lord. You understand? It had nothing to do with the people. But this is why the Black community is not being structured the way the Lord wants us to structure our community. This is why there's so much violence in the Black community. I know right now in the Hampton Roads area, within Portsmouth, within the Hampton Roads area, within Norfolk, within Hampton, within Newport News, within Suffolk, within Chesapeake, within these spots, with Virginia Beach, like within these 7 cities, man, there is so much violence. There's so many shootings going on. Like this is the second shooting going on in Young Terrace. Just a month ago, 3 sisters were shot dead in Young Terrace. Then following, the next month later, again, another shooting happened in Young Terrace in downtown Norfolk, in the ghetto, in the black community, in the Latino and the Native American community, right there in Young Terrace. Someone else just lost their life because of the violence and the shootings that are happening within the Black, Hispanic, and Native American community. That's because we want to continue to vote. Voting, we want to go to city. Listen, one of these days, the ISUPK is going to go to a city council meeting, and we're going to explain how evil the city council is and how evil the Norfolk City Council does absolutely nothing to fix the real problems within the Norfolk Black, Hispanic, and Native American community. We're going to go to that city. We're going to go into the city council meeting and explain to those city council members and explain to those people in charge of the city. And we're going to go to that black mayor and explain how evil he is and how he's doing absolutely nothing for the Black, Hispanic, and Native American community in Norfolk. But what he is doing is working on projects how to make our oppressor rich, how to make our oppressor rich in Norfolk, how they can make the Ghent area safe, how they can pave their roads and make their part of the city better while our part of the city is ran down, filled with drugs and so much murder and so much violence and so much shootings. We're going to go into the city council meeting and we're going to explain how evil these people are. They don't know. These leaders that we go to, that we put in charge, the Christian church will tell you, make sure you go and vote for your politicians and vote for your governors and vote for your senators and vote for your city council members. These city council members are not who the Lord wants to be in charge. The Lord did not raise up these city council members. The Lord did not raise up these senators. The Lord did not raise up these governors. The Lord did not raise these government officials to be over you and to make decisions for you on how to structure your community. But the Lord did put a man in place. The Lord did set up a government for Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to be under the authority of. And that's the ISUPK right here. That's the Israelite, so like that's the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. This is the government body. Like this is the government body that the Lord wants our people to adhere to and to be under the authority of. These city council members of Norfolk and these city council members of Portsmouth and these city council members of Newport News and Hampton they are not in the best interest of Black people. They are not in the best interest of the Mexicans. They are not in the best interest of the Haitians. They are not in the best interest of the Latinos. They are not in the best interest of the Native Americans. But the ISUPK, the Lord has your best interest because we are of the Lord. And we are the government body that the Lord put into place because we're going to teach you the law and the commandments and the statutes and the rules and the regulations and the instructions that the Lord wants us to live by, who the Lord wants us to establish our cities by. The Lord wants us to establish our cities under the law. The Lord wants us to understand, the Lord wants us to structure our cities and our towns, our neighborhoods, our projects under the law. That's what the Lord wants. And by doing this, the only way to do this is by what Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 15 says. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. This is one of the ways you do it. This is one of the ways we do it. All right. Let's get Isaiah chapter 36, verse 6. All right. Like the Lord has a government who the Lord is dealing with. Isaiah chapter 36, verse 6. And I want everyone to understand, like Commanding General Yohana was put into place. All right, Commanding General Yohana was raised up to lead the nation of Israel until Christ returns. It wasn't our city council members. It was not our senators. It was not our government. It was not our governors. It was not our government officials. It was never the Congress. It was never your politicians. It was never the Democratic Party. It was never the Republican Party. It was never the Independent Party. It was never your president. It was never your vice. It was never America's president. It was never America's vice president. It was none of them. The Lord put a man in charge. The Lord put a prophet of God in charge to lead the nation of Israel. And his name was Commanding General Yohana until Christ returns. There has always been one man to rule over the nation of Israel. There was always one man who came from our people to be in charge and to maintain the order and to regulate and to give instruction on how blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are to live their lives. Like the Lord wants you to listen to this prophet, because this prophet is going to teach you how to follow him and how to keep his laws so these curses can be uplifted. This prophet is going to be in charge to teach black people and to teach Latino people and to teach Native American people to teach us how to stop the murder and how to stop the violence within Norfolk. The city council members do not care about the violence that is happening in Norfolk. The city council does not care about the shootings that is happening in Young Terrace. They care about. They do care. They do care about the casinos they want to build. They do care about the projects they want to tear down so they can build up new apartments for new people to live in that are not blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. What they do care about is tearing down our projects to build malls and to build casinos and to build more apartment complexes that are going to be more expensive, so we have no chance of living there. That's what they do care about. They don't care about the violence. They don't care about the shootings. That's because the Lord did not put those city council members in place. The Lord did not put those senators in place. The Lord did not put those government officials in place. The Lord did not put those governors in place. The Lord did not put those city council members in place within Norfolk or in Portsmouth, or in Hampton, or in Newport News, or in Suffolk, or in Virginia Beach, or in the Hampton Roads area. Not at all. The Lord did not do any of these things. So let's get Deuteronomy, let's get Isaiah chapter 36, verse 6. And it says, Lo, thou trustest in the staff. It says, Lo, thou trustest in the staff of this broken reed. It says, trustest in the staff. It says, Lo, thou meaning you. It says thou. Who is the thou? The thou is so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. That thou is talking about the Mexicans. You understand? That thou is talking about the Cubans. That thou is talking about the Puerto Ricans. That thou is talking about the Colombians. That thou is talking about the Cubans. That thou is talking about the Costa Ricans and the Dominicans and the Brazilians and the Peruvians and the El Salvadorians and the people from Chile, all the people from South America and Central America and Mexico. Like that's the thou. The thou is Trinidad. That thou is Jamaica. That thou is Haiti. That thou is the Virgin Islands. You understand? It says, Lo, Isaiah chapter 36, verse 6. Lo, thou, that thou is talking about the Negroes in America. Thou, trusted, meaning trust. What does it mean to trust? Meaning what? You lean towards this. You're putting your entire faith and hope and prayers into this. It says, trusted in the staff. It says, in the staff. Does anybody know what a staff is? You understand? The Lord put these words in these scriptures so we can understand the Lord put these words here purposely. The Lord put these words so we can understand these scriptures and understand these verses and understand these words to its entirety. The Lord said in Isaiah chapter 36, verse 6, thou trustest in the staff. Does anybody know what a staff is? A staff is something you use to stand on. A staff helps us. A staff is something that you use to support. If you ever seen anyone with a staff, they hold the staff and they walk with the staff because the staff helps them walk. That staff is for you can lean on the staff so that staff can support you. A staff supports you. You understand? It says, say it, and it says, thou trusteth in the staff of this broken reed. That reed is talking about a piece of wood, and it's a broken wood. You understand? A broken wood. And when everyone understands that, it says a broken reed. It says, thou trusteth in the staff of this broken reed, meaning this support that you're leaning on, this support that you trust in is absolutely broken. This is why it's so important to follow the laws of God. This is why it's so important to follow who the Lord put in charge and who the Lord wants to have in this selected. And this is why it's so important, right, for us to keep these laws and to understand who the Lord wants to be over us. We have to understand that. We have to understand how important it is for who the Lord wants to be over us, who the Lord wants to have the authority over us, who the Lord wants to have power over us, who the Lord wants to rule over us. This is why it's so important, because it says, thou trusteth in the staff of this broken reed. It's like this broken reed. This broken reed is talking about a broken stick, a broken piece of wood. That support system is broken. That staff is broken. I want everyone to understand that staff, all right, that staff right here, it says on Egypt. It says on Egypt. It says on Egypt. I want everyone to understand America is spiritual Egypt. The same way we struggled in Egypt, the same way we're being murdered, the same way we were being murdered in Egypt, the same way we were being mass incarcerated in Egypt, the same way we were being oppressed in Egypt, the way they were killing the same way that they were killing our sons in Egypt, the same way that they were oppressing our daughters in Egypt, the same way they were doing filthy, disgusting acts of crime towards the Israelites in Egypt, which are so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, the same way how Egypt wanted to kill all Israel, it wanted to destroy all of Israel because of how evil they had, in the evil eye they had towards the Israelites, and the evilness and the wickedness they had towards blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans. Is the very same way, in the very same thing in America. All right? And guess what? That staff, that support is broken. America's support is broken. It's not going to work for black people. It's not going to work for the Latino people. It's not going to work for the Native Americans. America's government isn't for us. America's senators are not for us. America's governors are not for us. America's city council members are not for us. America's Congress is not for us. America's president is not for us. America's vice president is not for us. That's why the Lord said right here, in the staff of this broken reed on Egypt, meaning this support system is broken. The reason why America is broken and the reason why that support that America gives to us is broken, because it does not work. We want the violence to stop. We want police brutality to stop in the black community. We want police brutality to stop in the Latino community. We want police brutality to stop on the reservations to the Native Americans. And we want it to stop. And we think the only way to stop it, and the only way to make it stop and to cease, is by going to these voting booths and going into these meetings and going into these councils to go vote for these members, and to go vote for the president, and to go vote for the vice president, and to go vote for those senators, and to go vote for those Congress members, and to go vote for those Democrats, and to go vote for those Republicans, and to go vote for those governors, and to vote for those senators, and to vote for those state Congress members, and to go vote for those city council members. We think this is what's going to stop the violence in our cities. We want the violence to stop. As black people, as Native American people, as Latino people, we want the violence to stop. We want the shootings to stop. We want the chaos to stop. We want the police brutality to stop. We want the sex trafficking to stop. We want the mass incarceration to stop. But we choose to try to stop it by going to America, by going into that broken reed, by going to that staff that is a broken reed, by going to that support system, right, that is absolutely broken. There is so much corruption and so much injustice in the support to fix Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans when that support, all right, when that support is coming from America, when that support is coming from America's government and coming from their presidents and coming from their vice presidents and coming from their city council members and their senators and their governors and those state Congress members and those Congress members. You understand? So much injustice, and it does not work for us. If we want to fix the Black, Hispanic, and Native American community, all right, we're going to have to come back to the Lord, and we're going to have to come back to keep His laws, statutes, and commandments. That's what we're going to have to do, and that's what we will do. It says right here, Isaiah chapter 36, verse 6. It will go into his hand and pierce it. It says it will go into his hand and pierce it. Anyone know what it means to pierce? Meaning to stab. Meaning this right here. This is going to hurt you. That staff coming from Egypt, that staff coming from America is going to stab you. It's going to cause you pain. It's going to hurt you. It's not going to fix you. That broken staff, that corruptible government, the injustice that's happening in America is going to hurt Black people. It's going to pierce Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. It's not going to fix us. It's going to pierce us. It's going to stab us. It's going to hurt us. It's going to cause us pain. That's the mass incarceration. That's the police brutality. You understand? That's the knee on our backs. That's the being killed at traffic stops. That's being killed for having a toy gun. That's being killed for being mistaken of having a weapon. That's being killed just for being Latino. That's being killed for running away because we fear for our lives because we're known to be killed by the police. That's the piercing. You understand? That's the piercing. The piercing is our school systems never being fixed. That piercing is our neighborhoods That piercing is our neighborhoods never being fixed. That piercing is our cities staying destroyed. That piercing is the violence will never stop. That piercing is the shootings will never stop. The piercing is those gangs will never disappear. Because that's the piercing. That's because we lean on another nation of people to help us. We depend on another government and another nation of people to be in charge of us and expect them to help us when the Lord said it's a broken reed. You understand? That single motherhood and that single fatherhood is going to continue to happen. Because there will always be WIC, there will always be food stamps, there will always be government assistance, and there will always be child support. Do you understand? This is because, right, I want everyone to understand, this is because we depend on America, and we depend on these other nations of people, and we depend on another nation to be in charge of us and to make rules and regulations to be over us. It's very, very important to understand the basic laws, statutes, and commandments. The Lord does not want everyone in charge. The Lord did not put everybody in charge. The Lord put a certain somebody in charge to rule over the nation of Israel until Christ returns. And that's commanding general. It's not your pastor. It's not your bishops. It's not your evangelist. It's not your Catholic priest. It's not your minister. It's not your Muslim imam. It's not your Akid. It's not your Ankh. It's who the Lord put in charge, which is commanding general within the Israelite school of universal practical knowledge. Let's continue. And it says right here in verse 6, right? So is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all that trust in him, meaning Pharaoh, meaning the president, meaning that leader who you wanted to be in charge, not the Lord, but who you wanted to be in charge, who you went to go vote for, who you wanted to rule over us, who you stood hours in line to click a button for. It says, Pharaoh, so is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all that trust in him. Meaning, if you trust in Joe Biden, and you trust in your Donald Trumps, and you trust in your Joe Bidens, and you trust in your Mike Pences, and you trust in your Bill and Hillary Clintons, and you trust in your Ronald Reagans, it says, so is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all that trust in him. Meaning, this is also going to hurt you. This is also going to cause you pain. This also isn't going to work for you. You understand? Because the Lord did not put them in charge. The Lord puts who he wants in charge to rule over his people. That's in our law. That's in our records. This is the way the Lord wants us to live. The Lord does not want us to live any other way. The Lord does not want us to live any other kind of way. I want everyone to understand that. All right, let's get Exodus chapter 22. Let's get Exodus chapter 22, verse 25. You understand? Let's get Exodus chapter 22, verse 25. This is something very important to understand, but this is also within our law. And this is how we're supposed to structure ourselves, all right? Now, anybody online and in class, if you guys have any questions, if you guys have any concerns, make sure you guys put your questions in the live chat, all right? Make sure you guys put your questions into the live chat and to make sure you guys can get your questions answered, all right? All right, let's get Exodus chapter 22, verse 25. It says, Exodus chapter 22, verse 25. If thou lend money to any of my people, it says, if thou lend money to any of my people. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up this scripture, because this is one of the laws, statutes, and commandments that the Lord put into place for our people. The reason why, now you understand, the reason why we're struggling so much is because we have another nation of people in charge. We have another nation of people calling the shots. We have another nation of people making the rules and the regulations. We have another nation of people putting in their traditions and their culture and pushing their heritage into our communities. We have another nation of people making up their rules and regulations for us to live by. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, because it's very important to be under the authority of who the Lord put in charge, because the Lord put certain rules out there in a certain way, all right, a certain way to live and a certain way to structure ourselves after. We're supposed to structure ourselves after the law. We are supposed to structure ourselves after God's laws, statutes, and commandments. We're supposed to structure ourselves of not eating pork, not eating shrimp, not eating lobster. Structure ourselves after a man not having sex with another man, a woman having sex with another woman, grown men and women having sex with children. Like, we are supposed to structure ourselves after these laws, statutes, and commandments. Not getting dreadlocks, not smoking weed and getting high, not being a drug dealer, not becoming a drug addict, not having sex with whores. Like, there's a way that the Lord wants us to live our lives. And we are supposed to structure ourselves and structure our lives after God's laws, statutes, and commandments. And it says, Exodus chapter 22, verse 25. If thou lend money to any of my people that is poor by thee, right? It says, if thou lend money to any of my people that is poor by thee, meaning there are going to be poor people in the nation of Israel. You understand? It's okay to be poor. There's nothing wrong to be poor. Looks like there's nothing wrong to be rich. If there is a rich, there will be a poor. If there is a strong, then there must be a weak. There's always going to be that. There is no equality anywhere on this earth. No matter how you want to split it, no matter how you want to try to, go through it, there's no such thing as equality. If there's a strong, there's a weak. All right. If there's a rich, then there's a poor. All right. If there's a high, there's a low. The Lord has always worked this way. And if thou lend money to any of my people that is poor by thee, meaning there's going to be people that may not have as much money as you. All right. There are going to be there. Everyone's not going to be able to make six figures a year. Not everyone is making thousands and thousands of dollars a year. Not everyone is making 60,000, 70,000 a year. Maybe they're making 40 a year. Maybe they're making 30,000 or 25,000 a year. All right. It says, if thou lend money to any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as an usurer. It says, thou shalt not be unto him as an usurer. Does anybody know what a usurer is? Like an usurer is. Let's look up usury. Right? Usury. So like, I think I'm saying that correctly. Usury. All right. Right. Usury. So like a usury. Right? Usury. Does anybody know what a usury is? Usury is the lending of money with an interest charge for its use. It says interest. Usury is interest. Usury is interest. Usury is interest. It says, if thou lend money to any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as a usurer. A usurer is someone that charges interest. A person that puts interest on something that lends. Now, the reason why I brought this up, because a lot of our leaders do this. A lot of the rich of Israel do this. A lot of our rich people do this. All right. They do not know how to take care of the poor. All right. Rich people do not know how to take care of the poor. Rich people feel like the rich is not responsible for the poor. Even the poor feel like the rich is not responsible for them because they're going to make the excuse when they make rich to not take care of the poor. I want everyone to hear what I just said. All right. The rich do not want to take care of the poor, nor do they know how to take care of the poor. The rich feel like they are not obligated to take care of the poor. Even the poor do not feel like the rich is obligated to take care of the poor. Why? Because the poor believe when they become rich, right? The poor believe there's going to come a time and they're going to work, right, to get this time to have a lot of money and to be rich. And when they become rich, when they become wealthy, when they get in their money, they're not going to help the poor. They're going to be selfish bastards and keep all of their money to themselves. This is why we do not want other nations of people to rule over us. This is one of the reasons why another nation of people should not rule over Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Just by financially, right? And how the Lord wants us to deal with the poor is why another nation of people should not lead over us. It says right here, now I want everyone to put this in perspective. If we followed after God's laws, statutes, and commandments, and we had a leader that God put into place, and we did not go out and vote, and we did not go vote for Donald Trump, and we did not go and vote for Joe Biden, we did not go out to vote for Hillary or Bill Clinton, and we did not go out to vote for Mike Pence, and we did not go out to vote for these Democrats or these Republicans. If we chose not to go vote, and we chose to listen to who the Lord put in charge, and we decided to listen to who the Lord put into place to be a king over us, to be a ruler over us, to be an authority figure over us, just maybe we would have something like this put into place in our communities, in our cities, in our towns, in our neighborhoods. It says Exodus chapter 22, verse 25. If thou lend money to any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as an usurer. A usurer is someone that puts interest on money. So let's say I loaned you $20. Until I get my $20, there's going to be 5 cents added each day. So if you don't pay me back, so let's say there's 30 days in a month. All right. There's 30 days in a month. 30 times 5, that's 150. So that's $1.50. Meaning, if you do not pay me $20, but if you do not give me my $20, right? Or it doesn't matter. If I give you $20, right? The next day you owe me $20.05. And the day after that you owe me $20.10. 30 days go by, you owe me $21.50. Salaki. I said that correctly. Salaki. You owe me $21, all right, and 50 cents. That's what you owe me. Until, all right, until, all right, that's it. That's how much you owe me because this is the interest. All right, 5 cents each day. All right, so 30 times 5, all right, that's 150, $1.50. All right, 5 cents. All right, everybody understands that? Everybody gets that? It says right here, if thou lend to any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt be to him as an usurer. All right, a usurer. Does everyone understand? A usurer is someone that puts interest onto something. All right, a usurer. All right, a usurer is someone that puts interest onto something. All right, a usurer is someone that puts interest onto something. All right. Right. That's what a usurer is. All right. It says, neither, verse 25, neither shall thou lay upon him usury, meaning you should not put interest onto what you lend him. This is what America does. America exploits the poverty that we live in. America wants to keep us in poverty. America keeps us in debt. But if we chose to listen to what the Lord put into place, and we chose to be under the authority who the Lord wants us to be under, we wouldn't be in all this debt that we're living. We wouldn't have all these loans and debt and bad credit the way we're doing things. You understand? We wouldn't have to be going through this. I want everyone to understand that. If we wanted to listen to who the Lord put in charge and who the Lord put into place, this is one of the laws in the Bible. That you cannot charge your brother interest. I want everyone to understand that. You cannot charge your brother interest. All right? You cannot charge your brother's interest. But guess what? Let's get the next scripture. All right? Let's get is it Deuteronomy 23? Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 23. Also, if you guys have any questions and concerns, make sure you put it into the live chat as well. Let me see. Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 19 through 20. All right. Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 19 through 20. All right, verse 19 through 20. We're going to get into the Bible, how important it is to be under the authority that the Lord put into place and who the Lord put in charge. Like the Lord wants us to establish our cities and our towns, all right, and our neighborhoods and our cities and the projects and our apartment complexes in the places that we live, where we raise children and build up sons and daughters. He wants us to structure ourselves and to live under the authority that who the Lord put in charge. Like the man who the Lord puts in charge is going to teach us how to keep God's laws, statutes, and commandments. Like that's who the Lord is going to put in charge. The Lord wants us to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. How many knew if we kept God's laws, statutes, and commandments, we would not be in as much debt as we are now? If we kept the laws of the Most High and we kept God's laws, statutes, and commandments, we wouldn't have to depend on another nation of people to buy a house. We wouldn't have to depend on another nation of people to own a business and to have a business. We wouldn't have to depend on another nation of people for absolutely nothing. But because we decided not to keep the laws of God, and we decided not to keep God's laws, statutes, and commandments, now we depend on another nation. Now we depend on America. Now we depend on America to open up businesses. Now we depend on America to buy homes and to buy land and to buy airspace. We depend on that. We depend on America to get all these type of things because we decided to not keep God's laws, statutes, and commandments. You're wondering why you're in so much debt and you have a terrible credit score is because it was designed that way. It was made that way. All right. So you can continue, so we can understand and learn. Unless we keep these laws, statutes, and commandments, right? We're not going to prosper or to succeed. Now, no one is telling you to not get your credit up. No one is telling you, all right, to not work on your credit and to not take out loans. No one's telling you not to do that. What we are telling you is be very, very aware of the reason why we're going through this hell. The reason why Blacks, Hispanics, and Americans are the widely known people to have bad credit scores is because we did not keep the law. The reason why we depend on another nation of people to give us money to start a business is because we don't want to keep the law. The reason why we depend on another nation of people to take out money to own a business and to buy a house and to buy some land or to buy some airspace is because we do not want to keep the law. That's the reason why. That's the reason why all these things are happening. You understand? These are the curses in the Bible that the Lord is talking about. And it says right here, Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 19. Thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother, meaning you are not allowed to lend to your brother and put usury on the money that you give him. You cannot put interest on that brother. You cannot give him interest. Usury of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury, meaning you cannot put interest on food, you cannot put interest on money, you can't put anything that interest is supposed to be on. Meaning you cannot try to make a profit if you're trying to give to your brother. You know you are lending this to your brother and you know you're going to get it back. The spirit behind this is you're trying to make a profit out of your brother when you guys are just trying to profit together. Stop trying to profit. You should not try to profit off of your brother. Like you wondering, and let me tell you something real quick. Our oppressor has this system set up. There's a reason why, right? There's a reason why, and I want everyone to understand this. There's a reason why when you look at those car commercials, and you guys look at those dealerships having those car commercials, why it says 0.00 APR. It's because they're not going to give their people usury. They're not going to charge some of their people interest because that's their brother. You're wondering why there's some loans, they say our loan interest rates and our loan APRs go as low as 0.00% and it stops at 5.36%. The reason why you see these numbers, the reason why you see 0.00% is because they know that there are people that they're not going to put interest on because that's their people. And listen, all these other nations and races of people, they do this very same thing. They're not going to put interest who they give money or anything to their brother or who their people are. But this is what they will do. And the Lord said, for black people, if you're going to lend to your own people, you cannot put interest. You cannot put interest on that. Doesn't matter if it's food, a car, money. You cannot try to make a profit off of it. You cannot try to make a profit off of it. All right. Verse 20. Verse 20. Unto a stranger. It says, unto a stranger, thou mayest lend upon usury. It says, upon a stranger. It's like unto a stranger. Anybody know what a stranger is or who a stranger is? A stranger is someone that is not of your nationality. A stranger is someone that is not of your race of people. A stranger is someone that is not Black, Hispanic, or Native American. That's not Haitian. That's not Puerto Rican. That's not Cuban. That's not Colombian. That's not Mexican. That's not El Salvadorian. That's not Peruvian. That's not Brazilian. Right? That's not Costa Rican. That's not Cuban. That's not Dominican. That's not Navajo or Iroquois. That's not Apache or Pequot. That's not Wampanoag. That's not Mohegan or Mohawken. That's not Cherokee. That's not Comanche. That's not Skywalker. That's not Creek. That's not Muskogee. Like, we have to understand this. All right? We have to understand this. This is who a stranger would be. A stranger is your Donald Trumps. Your stranger is those Africans. Those strangers are those Nigerians and Algerians. Those strangers are those East Indians. Those strangers are our oppressor. Those strangers are those French and those Irish. Those strangers are those Polish. Those strangers are those Germans and those Russians and those Czechoslovakians. Those are who those strangers are. Those strangers are the English and the British and the French. Like, those are your strangers. Those strangers are the Vietnamese and the Chinese and the Koreans and the Chinese and the Japanese. Like, those are who your strangers are. Those Iranians and Iraqians and those Palestinians and those Pakistanians and those Turkish. Like, those are, and those Turks. Well, so like, the Turks might be something different, but those people from Turkey. So I don't think Turks are from Turkey technically. I would have to research that. So like, I don't want to give you the wrong information. So I'm gonna just say the people from Turkey. You understand? The people from Turkey. Like, those are strangers. Unto a stranger thou mayest lend, thou mayest lend upon usury. Meaning, if they do not come from your nation of people and they are not of your race, you understand? You can put interest on things that you give them. This is what our oppressor does to us. Our oppressor is in the position of where when they can lend to us, they can put interest on it. But the Lord always wanted it to be the other way around. The Lord wanted us to have all the wealth and all the money and all the places to where people had to come to us for, and we were the ones to be in charge and to rule the entire earth righteously. That's what the Lord wanted. All right, that's what the Lord wants. This is why the Lord gave us these laws, statutes, and commandments, so we can live and structure our lives, right, under them, to rule our nation of people and to rule everyone else on this damn earth. You understand? That's what the Lord wanted. That's why it says, unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury, meaning interest. But unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury, meaning upon your brother you cannot put interest on anything you give him, but a stranger you can. That's why Black people, we are in so much debt, unlike our oppressor is. That's the reason why we're in so much debt, unlike the Chinese. That's why we're in so much debt, unlike the Japanese. That's why we're in so much debt, unlike the Koreans. That's why we're in so much debt, unlike the Koreans. That's why we're in so much debt, unlike the Irish. We are in so much debt, unlike the Germans. We are in so much debt, unlike the British, unlike the French, unlike the English. That's why we're in so much debt, unlike the Italians. Why? Because the Lord said right here, unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury. but unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all that thou settest thine hand to in the land where thou goest to possess it. Like this was the reason why the Lord wanted us to be in charge. This is the reason why the Lord did not want us to depend on another nation of people to live by. This is the reason why the Lord did not want everyone in charge. This is why the Lord put a certain man in charge to be in charge, and he put in charge so he can have and so he can properly rule over blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans according to the laws of God, according to what the Lord said to do. Like that's why it's so important for every black, Hispanic, and Native American to understand this. When we decide to go out and vote and have another nation of people and to have a stranger rule over us, we're not going to get the benefits, all right? We are not going to get the benefits that the Lord wanted us to get. You understand? All right, let's see the question. So, do you think we should not vote at all? So like some of the bills help the Israelites community if you actually read them. Okay, so no, we should not vote at all because voting is voting. Okay, voting, when it comes to voting, all right, let me explain something entirely. When it comes to voting, all right, voting is when you try to put a certain person into power, and that's the sin. We were never to choose and make the decision, right, to who is going to be in power over us. That's why I don't know if you were in the beginning of class, but I'm gonna jump back just for your sake, just so I can just for your sake. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 14. I don't know if you heard this, all right, but this was in our law, and it says, and we're gonna go straight to verse 15. Thou shalt in any wise, Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 15. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose, meaning who's ever going to be a ruler over you or going to be in power over you, the Lord is going to choose him. Nor, Salakia, one from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee, meaning there is going to have to be someone of your own people, someone of your own race, and someone of your own nationality. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. A stranger is someone that is not of your race of people, someone that is not of your nation. So if you are black, Hispanic, and Native American, someone black, Hispanic, and Native American has to rule over you and to be in charge of you. If you go out and if you try to go out and make the decision yourself and to make the choice yourself, when that decision and that choice was supposed to be of the Lord, you have sinned against him. So that's why we do not vote. Now, do some of the bills that our oppressor, okay, do some of the bills of do some of the laws in the bills that our oppressor passes benefit black people in some kind of way? Yes, it does. Do some of the bills that they pass do benefit the Latinos and the Native American people? Absolutely, they do. But they were never targeted to benefit us. All right. They were never targeted to benefit us. All right. Every bill that is passed that might benefit us, there for one bill that one for that one bill, for every one bill that is passed that may benefit blacks, Hispanics, and Americans, there are 10 to 20 other bills that completely destroy us. Does that answer your question? Let me know if that answers your question. All right. All right. Just let me know. Like there were certain bills and laws passed, right, to have no knock warrants. And there were bill passed for to give more food stamps to the people. But if you got stop and frisk and no knock warrants going on, well, not many people are going to be getting their food stamps anyway, because they're all going to get mass incarcerated or thrown in prison or maybe even killed at the worst. For every bill that may benefit blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, there's always 10 to 20 other bills that completely destroy us and rob us from success and rob us from being a successful people. So like it. Let me know if that answers your question. And let me know, and if you have any more questions or concerns, just put into the live chat.
Just how is my water?
No. So like that's Con, so let me know if that answers your question. If anyone else had any questions or concerns, just let me know. All right. Anybody, just let me know if that answers your question. If not, all right. So with that, I'll be the class. So with that, I say Amani, which means to stand. All right. Amani, which means to stand. We want to give a courteous salute to the brothers, men of Israel, Amani Shabbat, Amani, Barak, Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah Brokatham, Yadim Matah, Saul, God walking, which means turn to the sisters, men of Israel. We want to give a courteous salute to the sisters, men of Israel, Amani Shabbat, Amani, Barak, Yahweh Shema Alathan Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Yadim Matah. With that, class dismissed.